Good afternoon to our European users and good morning to our US users and webinar participants. To those that are not maybe so familiar with Molport, let me give you a very brief introduction to Molport. Molport was established in 2006 to help drug discovery scientists order compounds for testing. To achieve this, we created a centralized marketplace for chemicals. Today, this marketplace lists catalogs of over 60 major suppliers and covers nearly 7 million stock chemical compounds. We value order fulfillment reliability over listing more suppliers. And in this context, we synchronize inventory of over 75% of listed compounds with suppliers' warehouse stock data every single day. And for sake of efficiency and convenience, samples and reagents ordered via Molport are delivered in one shipment and with one invoice, even if an order is being sourced from several suppliers. We can reformat samples to meet customer specification, transfer them to custom vials or plates, split samples, or prepare solutions. How do I switch this next slide? We provide access to the always up-to-date and constantly overseen Molport database of commercially available compounds via, first of all, the website, of course, www.molport.com, FTP file downloads, and also web services, also called API, standalone or integrated into KNIME or pipeline pilot workflow. The main focus of this webinar, of course, is on the web interface of compound search. First, I will give you a quick tour of the search and ordering interface on the website. And the second part of the webinar will focus on the chemical structure search interface and building structure queries with Chemaxon, Chemaxon's Marvin JS editor. So let me switch to the web browser. So this is the Molport website, and I will just give you very quick introduction to how typical search and ordering process goes. So, of course, the simplest way to search is the text search, like chemical name or some other chemical identifier. For example, chloropyridine. Of course, if I would type correctly, then we will actually find something. So we see here search results, and in search results you can see all the matching structures. You can see Molport ID, chemical names, smells, and the molecular weight. And also you see the availability tag. Is this compound actually in stock currently, maybe sold out, or is that made to any compound? In this search results, you can proceed to see details for the compound. And this is what we call a molecule page, which lists all of the suppliers for this particular compound. You see here is the supplier. There are clearly listed shipping and handling costs. In this case, I'm located in Europe, and it lists those for my location. This is a screening compound catalog for key organics. They typically ship out in 2 days. The purity, the catalog was updated this week. Currently, there are 100 milligrams in the warehouse. You can see listed packagings for other suppliers. There might be as many as 10 different packaging levels. If I want 10 milligrams, I can say just one or more packagings, or I can simply also if it's just one, I can press add to cart, and it will be both added to the cart. That surprised me. And this is the shopping cart, where again you see all of the costs and the shipping costs and the total. You can proceed to order this shopping cart and complete the order online, pay by credit card. You can generate a quote as a PDF document to submit to your purchasing department, or you can also download this list as an Excel, which is useful for larger orders, where you might actually show this to your supervisor maybe and remove something from the list, or change quantities and then submit for ordering. So that's the typical ordering process. You saw the text search. We will talk about structure search and structure search interface. There is also what we call list search. List search is useful if you want to source dozens or hundreds of compounds in one order. Essentially, you can paste a list of smiles, or you can load a SD file and specify the quantities you want for each compound, or the same quantity for all compounds. And we will find all of the compounds, and we will optimize the order to minimize shipping charges, to calculate supplier discounts, and then you can generate a quote or order that online. This concludes my quick introduction to general MALPORT interface and ordering.
It's really my pleasure to show you some tips and tricks how you can use Marvin.js to quickly draw structures or build queries for chemical search purposes within MALPORT database. Based on the poll we ran at the beginning, it seems that most of you are familiar with ChemDraw, but for those of you which are not familiar with Marvin.js, this is one of the best editors in the market. It is a browser component drawing tool which is designed and developed by Chemaxon. And it's very intuitive, it's lightweight, it's robust, and that under JavaScript web technology. So Marvin.js, it's really designed to let you quickly sketch chemical structures, as well to define complicated and highly specific query molecules. You can also draw reactions for searching purposes, but this is not the case for the MALPORT database, so we'll not touch on to that today. But just want to mention that that's possible as well. Before we get started, I would actually like to give you a brief overview of the layout of Marvin.js, especially because you're not that familiar with it. And the purpose of this webinar is really to show you the tips and tricks where the functionalities are actually hidden within Marvin.js. So how you can use them quickly by clicking on the buttons on the toolbar around the canvas of Marvin.js, or using your friend keyboard. We have a lot of great keyboard shortcuts. You can manipulate your mouse and the keyboard at the same time to quickly sketch structures or add query features to your structure for search purposes in Molport database. So starting from the top, we have here the toolbar for importing, exporting options, editing, like cutting, pasting, and so forth, and some viewing functionalities as well. I'd like to mention that all these toolbars you're seeing now in Molport are actually customizable and could be populated with additional functionality, which actually exists within Marvin.js, but they are not turning out for the purposes of this database. As I mentioned at the beginning, the keyboard is actually your friend. Absolutely, you can open menus and choose the functionality from the toolbars by clicking on the buttons. But for example, if I want to open the import menu, I can simply click Ctrl-O on my keyboard, and that will open the import menu, for example. I would like to mention that for using the keyboard, you always have to be within the Marvin.js environment. If you're outside and use the keyboard, the functionality will actually not work. So be sure you are clicking inside of Marvin.js canvas in order to use the shortcuts. Moving on, the toolbar on the left gives you capabilities for drawing and editing tools. And probably you notice that a couple of the buttons here has black triangle in the lower right corner. That means something is hidden inside. So if you click and expand, you see that actually there are different other functionalities you can use within that button. For bonds, also you can access them with from the keyboard. So for example, if you need quickly to add a single bond, you can press 1 in your keyboard and that will change the selection to a single bond. 2 will change it to a double, 3 will change to a triple, and so forth. Also, Ctrl-D changed it to a drawing tool. This is actually very useful when you start, when you want to draw structures and you want to have a little bit more flexibility. This gives you, flexibility of using a pencil directly on Marvin.js canvas. Basically enables to create bonds without changing the tool or release the mouse button when you use it. There are several other important functionalities here, like adding repeating groups and the R group, which we'll touch on this webinar, how you can build queries based on that. But I'd like to mention that one of the important or maybe more popular functionality which is missing from here is the text box. It seems that it's very popular in Marvin.js. People love this, especially when they want to draw reactions and they want to add reactions condition. Just mentioning that it's available there. And also missing from here are the smart reaction tool functionality, which can be turned on if need be in Marvin.js. Moving forward, the bottom toolbar gives you the ability to use the preset templates. You see, instead of drawing a benzene ring from scratch, you can just pick it from the toolbar and drag it into the canvas. Here, there is an important context menu, which is the abbreviated group. Could be opened by clicking on it, but also just by pressing space on your tool on the keyboard, that will open the abbreviated group menu as well. And we will use it later on an example. Last but not least, this is the toolbar on the right, where you have the most commonly used elements by default, and also there is a periodic table button which opens up the entire periodic table, and you can easily pick from any atoms and bring into the Marvin.js canvas to draw structures. Here, another two important functionalities hidden into periodic table is the atom list and not atom list. This will allow you to quickly pick, different type of atoms from the periodic table and add them into the canvas. So that concludes the brief overview of layout of Marvin.js. Let's see how you can actually use it to draw structures, and also not just draw structures from scratch, but how can you import existing structures from example other editors, or convert it the names to structure or smile string and so forth, or load it from a file. So I will start just to draw simple molecules from scratch. In this case, I will just use paracetamol. I will start with the benzene ring, which is the main core. Pressing 1 on my keyboard, that will change my selection to a single bond, which I want to add to build my molecule. Pressing 2 will change the selection to a double bond. And again, I want to change some atoms here. I want to add some oxygens. Instead of clicking on the toolbar, I can just simply press O on my keyboard, and that will change my selection to an oxygen atom. And also, I want to add a nitrogen in here. Pressing N on my keyboard will allow me to change the selection to a nitrogen atom. So I have my molecule ready. I can now quickly search the Molport database for this particular compound and see if it's available for me to purchase it. So as Iman mentioned, there are different types of searches you can pick from. Just mousing over the question mark will kind of give you the idea what type of searches you can perform. In this particular one, I want to do an exact search. So I'm not interested in compounds which have salts or anything like that. So I will press search, and that will give me the answer right back. Probably you couldn't even see, how many molecules were actually searched. There are like over 40 million in this database. So the search was so quick, and the answer came back in seconds. So I can see now that I have my options. They are in stock, and I can, follow the instructions Iman just showed you to order it. There are, going back to the structure search. Let's say I'm looking for actually a more precise structure which has some stereochemistry in it. So let me clear my canvas. To do that, I will press Ctrl A on my keyboard, and then delete will allow me to clear the canvas and start fresh. So let's say I'm looking for this particular inhibitor with particular stereochemistry. So I want to add some edge bonds here. Again, pressing 5 on my keyboard. Change the selection to wedge bond. 6 will change it to a single down capability. Pressing 1 again, my keyboard will change it to a single bond. I will add here a benzene ring, and then I want to add 2 chlorines here in this position, and I want to change this atom here to a nitrogen. Again, I want to do that on the atom, not to add a single bond. So, scrolling down, in this case, I want to do an exact fragment search. And again, I should have returned a compound. Let me try it again. I think I missed the nitrogen atom. So instead of, it's actually a very good example to show you that if I did something wrong and actually I was not able to find what I was looking for, maybe because I did a mistake on drawing. So all the searches are actually saved and you can bring them back into the canvas. So now I just realized that instead of changing the nitrogen atom here, I change it to a different position. So this is actually the compound I'm looking for. Okay, so again, let me do the search. And voila, this is actually the compound I was looking for. So I see that the result came up right away. Let's see how you can actually import structures into Marvin.js different ways. Again, Control A if I am inside of Marvin.js. Allow me to clear the canvas. Let's say I have a molecule already drawn in another drawing package. In this case, Marvin Sketch, but for those of you which are familiar with ChemDraw and want to transfer a molecule from ChemDraw into Marvin.js, you can basically follow the same steps. What I will do, I will just select the molecule, again, pressing Control A in Marvin Sketch to select the entire molecule, and then just by pressing Control M on my keyboard, and then going into Marvin.js and press Control V, that will allow me to transfer the molecule from Marvin Sketch to Marvin.js. For ChemDraw, basically the capabilities are the same. What you need to do is just to save the molecule as a mol file and then copy it into Marvin.js. Another way to import structure from into Marvin.js is by converting a name or a smile or small string or inchi keys into a structure. So for example, if I'm typing here paracetamol, that allow me to convert the name into a structure, or I can use the smile string of the same compound. Pasting them into convert to a structure tab will allow me to convert the smile string, I'm sorry, into a structure and use it for searches. Another capability is to load it from an existing file. These are the ones which are supported within Molport database, the file types. You can see mol files, SDF files, and so forth are supported. But also, directly from in Marvin.js, you can import MRV type of files. So, for example, if I want to import an existing file saved as MRV, that is possible as well. So there are several ways to input structures into Marvin.js for such purposes. But let's say you don't want to, do exact searches, and most of the time, for speeding the search purpose, you can actually use query features to query things or search things in once to speed up your process. So let me just show you a quick example here, just using this chain functionality. Instead of just drawing one by one, single bonds, I can just use the chain to add quickly to my canvas four type of single bonds, a chain of 4 single bonds. So let's say I would like to use a repeating group here and mention that I'm actually interested not just in this specific length chain, but I want to have variation and basically search for propanol, butanol, pentanol in the same time. So that will really speed the process of searching the Molport database. So going down and doing an exact search, that will allow me to find in once all the possible combinations of compounds with link nodes between 1 and 3. So all the compounds which have, propanol or butanol or pentanol inserted in that. Going back to the structure search, let me show you some other tricks. For example, to quickly speed up the process of drawing, I can use abbreviated groups. So instead of adding a carbonyl group, I can just pick it up from the abbreviated group. Again, if I press ESC, will allow me to go in the selection mode, and then pressing space will open up the abbreviated group. I can quickly start typing what abbreviated group I want to pick. The list will start to drop down, and I can pick the abbreviated group I want to add to my structure. I can bring it as a contracted group, or I can expand it. So let's say I want to expand it in this case. Sorry, should have add. So I want to add it as expanded. So I want to change it here, and I want to change it here as well. So I added as a expanded one. If I mouse over, I can see the abbreviated group. Contracted, and here it is contracted, and I can expand it as well if I want. I can ungroup it. Going into search mode will allow me to quickly find the compound I'm looking for. It's available, it's on stock, so I can order it. Let's look at the other quick examples. Other possibility to add query features. So for example, let's say I'm looking for this particular compound which has a fluorine in all these three positions. So to do that, we'll use a position variation bond, and I will change my methyl here to fluorine. And also, let's say I want in this particular position an atom list. So I want that atom to be not just a carbon, but also a nitrogen and oxygen. So I'm going into my periodic table and clicking atom list allows me to select the atoms I want to change. So let's say I want to do that. So let's quickly look for compounds which have fluorine in all these three positions, and also carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen as a option on this particular for this particular atom. So again, doing a search quickly, the database is searched, and I have my answers. There are other atom properties and bond properties features available. I want to show you. So if you right click on any atoms, the atom property dialog will open, and here you can change the atom properties of the elements, but also you can add homology groups, have the abbreviations list and non-list are available. Also, there are some other functionalities here, like you can add charges if you want, and going into advanced mode, here will open even more capabilities to add query properties to your atoms, but also to your bonds as well. The atom query properties can be accessed from the toolbar here. So if you click on A, the atom query properties is actually hidden in this box. If you click on query properties, the atom query properties menu will open up, or using the shortcut, the keyboard shortcut, pressing period, that will open the atom query properties menu as well. So as you see, there are different capabilities or a variety of capabilities to add query properties to your searches for your compounds here. Looking at the time, I think one more options I would like to show you today is how to use the R group. I think that was one of the most featured people in this webinar is looking for. So let's say I want to speed up my search and actually look for different type of R groups. So I can add R groups to my fragment here using the Smart Group tool. Clicking on that allows me to add my R groups to my molecule. And let's say for R1, I actually can add some definitions. So I want to search for this particular definition. If I select the definition in once using the Smart R group, that will collapse all these 3 fragments, and they'll be available for R1. If I do this fragment for my R2, again, using the R Smart group, quickly I can mention that these particular fragments are for R2, and I want to search for those. So that will allow me to quickly search the database for these possible combinations, speeding up my search. So this is looking for the possible combinations. It will take a little longer. Again, the database has over 42 million of compounds to search for. Okay. It really takes less than a minute, and you saw that. So I have actually now my answers back. So these are the compounds which are available in MolPort database based on my R groups searches. With that, I think I will turn the stage to you and ask if you have any questions. I think that's the most important tricks and features we plan to show you today. I'll be very happy to answer to any questions, and thank you so much again for your attention and participation.